For those of you watching right now, we thank you for bearing with us, as this is our first webinar, part of the Career Services project, to talk with alumni from Hillsdale College about their career paths and their successes. And so, we thank you for all bearing with us as we got through those small technical difficulties. So, welcome. We thank you very much. Now, my understanding is that you're a graduate from 1994. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why you came to Hillsdale and your time here at the college?
Sure. I did graduate, Ben, in 1994. Our family has quite a tradition at Hillsdale between the Vivianos and the Delaps. In fact, there's 3 current students now, as you and I talked about. There's 7 in my family, and all 7 of us graduated from Hillsdale. I chose Hillsdale for, in part for that reason, but also because I'm a conservative and it was aligned with my principles. And frankly, also because I got a scholarship to go there, because being number 5 in a large family, I was also thinking about going to a public university to try to save money. So the scholarship helped make my decision. And so, it's been interesting to me over the years, not only with our family, but I have a lot of friends from that era, from my graduating class and the surrounding classes that I still keep in touch with. In fact, I just got off the phone with a friend of mine from New York who runs a very busy energy trading desk in New York. So, so it's the college. It was a great experience for me, a formative experience, really, in a lot of ways, that led me directly on the path to law school and to becoming an attorney, and then also to becoming a judge and a public servant. So, I really feel privileged to go there, and I'm proud of what you guys are doing now, following in our path.
Well, thank you. So did you know when you first came to Hillsdale, or when you were deciding to come here, that you wanted to be a lawyer and perhaps even a justice one day? Was that always something you had in mind, or did that happen while you were at Hillsdale or after?
My father was an attorney at the time. Then he became a judge, and now he's a retired judge. And so I always had a seed planted in my head that I wanted to become a lawyer. A lot of my parents' friends were lawyers or in the legal profession. And so a lot of the kids I played with growing up were in that environment too. So actually a lot of them have followed as well. So I was never really pushed in that direction, but that was kind of where I wanted to go. When I was at Hillsdale, my dad actually ran for office for judge for the first time in 1992. And so that's getting involved in the electoral process, I think, is what really started to interest me in public service as a career, and also elections. And I apologize, I have a little bit of a cold.
It's okay. Yeah, it seems to be going around here in the Michigan Peninsula. So, adding to that, my understanding is that you majored at your time here at Hillsdale in political economy and accounting. So let me ask you this. Were those majors, did they help you prepare you for your career in law? And what about other things that you were involved in at Hillsdale? My understanding is that you were also a Sigma Chi. How did that prepare you as well?
Yeah, so from a major standpoint, the accounting major was very practical, because I wanted to make sure that if I decided I needed to work right out of college, that I'd be able to obtain a good job. And I had a great experience in the accounting program with Dr. Facey at the time, and in fact interviewed and had job offers in that field. But the political economy is more where my heart always was: political science and history and economics. And so for me, that was just fun to be able to learn about the free market and Austrian economics at Hillsdale, and history from the great professors, including Dr. Connor, who's still there, who was our European history professor,
right?
But also our advisor at the fraternity house as well.
Yeah, he still is today.
right, doing a great job. And so the classwork there, the coursework at Hillsdale, I think, is terrific. It has only gotten better, frankly, over the years under Dr. Arnn, and the current faculty's done just an amazing job. And I think that's really important. But you're also correct that extracurriculars can be really important. I was fortunate to participate in the WHIP internship and spend a semester in Washington. And interesting, I just was in Washington 2 weeks ago watching a Senate Judiciary Committee meeting for one of my colleagues who's up for a nomination to the federal courts, And it made me think of my time there when I was in Hillsdale, seeing all the staffers who are all, frankly, your age and your age group, and remembering my time there. The fraternity life, I think, is important as well. I think social life is really important in your professional career, in your personal life. You got to make sure you build good relationships with others, and you learn to get along, frankly, and even get along with people that you don't agree with. And so, we had a lot of fun in the fraternity life. I made a lot of lasting friendships there, and so I'm glad that Greek life is still alive at Hillsdale. I think we need to give it a nudge every once in a while, but well, I also, as a note, I'll stop talking here in a minute, but I also was I worked for Joanna, like you do, in the career planning office when I was at Hillsdale. So that was interesting as well. And I got to learn a lot about job opportunities and resumes, and even thinking about grad school. That helped me to look at the LSAT materials and all that stuff.
So from speaking from those experiences, what advice would you say you have for perhaps students at Hillsdale who are still in college but want to go on to attend a law school? What are some of the things that you would say they should be focusing on, as they're getting ready to take those LSATs, obviously, and looking at law schools to apply for?
The environment has changed quite a bit. So my first advice to people thinking about law school is you have to really make sure that's what you want to do, because it's really expensive these days, and the job market is very competitive. And so you have to make sure that your heart's in it. If your heart's in it and you're convinced that that's what you want to do, I think it's still a great field, and it's not narrow. It can lead to lots of other things, both in the law, but also in business or public service or other pursuits as well. Obviously, you need to focus on your coursework and your grades. Those are obvious things.
Yeah.
I was talking about WHIP. I remember buying all the practice tests, taking them with me to Washington, studying every week that I was out there taking practice tests. So, unfortunately, we're judged by how well we can score on these types of exams. So those are really important as well. Mm-hmm. Then it's important to find a law school that fits your personality, your outlook, your pocketbook, and your aspirations in terms of what you want to do after law school. And so, we have a lot of good choices in Michigan, but around the country as well. I also think it's hard, no matter what you're doing, to understand as a college student what your profession, what your job is really like on a day-to-day basis. So I think internships are great, even if they're not paid. Anything that gets you into contact with people who are doing the types of things you think you might be interested in, I think is really important, because the earlier you get a good sense of what direction you're headed, the more you'll be able to make good decisions about what classes to take and what are the types of experiences you'll need under your belt to be successful in that type of a career.
Mm-hmm. So, my understanding is that you attended University of Michigan Law School shortly after your time here. What would you say to perhaps a student who thinks that in order to succeed in today's ever more competitive law environment, you really need to attend, one of the top 5 law schools or one of the Ivy League law schools? Do you think that is a requirement to be successful in the law world, or can you attend, a lot of the state schools, let's say, and still be successful?
So, you have to be realistic on what your goals are and what your ambitions are and what your ability level is as well. Mm-hmm. So the answer is no, I don't think you have to go to Harvard or Yale or Michigan or Chicago to be successful. But if you want to, for the Supreme Court, you might have to go to those places. So you have to be realistic about what it is you're setting out to do. There's a lot of folks doing great work in the legal system who've attended schools all across the spectrum. I have had law clerks working for me who've attended every law school in Michigan and who have done a great job. And so I think that you have to keep in mind that wherever you decide to go, where there's different things that factor into it, including, again, what the cost factor. But wherever you go, it really depends on you and what your level of effort you're going to put in, how hard you're going to work, both in the classroom and outside, making relationships. And certainly once you get into your professional career, I think it does come down to hard work and integrity. And I've seen lots of people make their way from places where you wouldn't expect it, who become far more successful than other people who maybe started out with a little bit of a head start.
Yeah. So when you're selecting then, I mean, law clerks, like you were saying, I mean, what characteristics would you say are the most important things you look for then in a young lawyer?
Well, certainly, yeah, certainly when you want to see folks who are doing well wherever they're attending. So grades matter. That's what I mean. You got to show that you're hardworking and you're diligent. But then extracurriculars as well. Or if you want to be a lawyer who writes well, are you writing in journals? Are you trying to publish things? Are you on law review? If you want to be a lawyer who practices in courtrooms, are you taking on those types of responsibilities at an early age and interacting with lawyers and litigators in courts as well? You want to see people who are out trying to get out there in the field, gaining the type of experience and skills that they're going to need. You want to, whatever job you have, you want to excel and you want to impress the people that you're with and that you're working for. Because we also check references. We're going to ask folks, what's your reputation? How have you done in the past? How have you faced adversity? And and have you stepped up to the plate when needed? And have you been loyal to your employer? Those types of things. The traditional, what I would call the traditional attributes that seem to be getting lost in modern society. Probably not as much at Hillsdale.
Yeah. So speaking towards that and those traditional attributes, I mean, what do you think, in your opinion, Hillsdale offers? So is there anything unique about the Hillsdale education or your experience in Hillsdale that can help somebody especially prepare for a career in law?
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunities to engage with the faculty, with your professors, and with your fellow students, both on the academic coursework, but on lots and lots of extracurricular activities where you can learn and grow and become confident and be on your feet and debate ideas openly, in just the type of setting that I think should be present on every university campus, but seems to be less and less the case. So, take advantage of the things that are there, the ability to get involved in whatever activities there are at Hillsdale. And push yourself outside your comfort zone. I think that's an important thing. Don't go there just because it's comfortable, although it is nice there. People are friendly. But push yourself into activities that are beyond your comfort zone and see how you react. I think most people thrive outside of their comfort zone. They do their best work. And so, you got to push yourself, though.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I have one more question for you today. This is only a 15-minute webinar, but I am curious, if you could do it all over again with all the knowledge that you have now, is there anything that you would change about your path towards becoming a Supreme Court justice, or anything you would change in general?
Well, I'll just give you a little one. When I graduated from Hillsdale in 1994, I went to Europe for 2 weeks with Dr. Connor and a couple of our fellow students who are still close friends of mine. And I cut the trip short so I could come back to the University of Michigan and become a summer starter because I was determined to finish law school early, which I did. But I've always looked back on it and wondered why I was in such a rush. And so I would encourage folks to just slow down a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's not about who gets there first. Take advantage of the opportunities that are there. Whether they're, as I mentioned already, internships, even unpaid internships. Some of it might be travel. You have an opportunity when you're young to travel to Europe and other places that you won't have later. And so, get some of those experiences under your belt when you're young, and your professional career. It'll be there. When you're ready for it. Don't put it off forever, but you don't have to be in such a rush like I was.
Yeah. Well, some wise words from Justice Viviano. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us today. I think the college students will really appreciate it. I find it, I have to say, just on a personal level, very interesting. I'm also a political economy major, so it's interesting to see some of the parallels there. So thank you once again, and we hope to welcome you back on campus at some point in time. And we encourage all those who are watching today to tune in next week, Monday at 8 p.m., which will be the regular time for these broadcasts. We'll be talking with Greg McLogan about networking and LinkedIn, how you can prepare yourself in that field. But that was just Justice Viviano, a graduate of the class of 1994. Thank you very much, Justice.
Thanks, Ben.
Have a good day.
You too.